welcome everyone. Thanks for listening in to HFS Unfiltered. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I lead our overall research and advisory services based pretty much out of my basement here in Chicago. And with me, I have the pleasure of having Neeraj Manik, who's the senior partner with IBM Consulting. He leads the growth for business transformation services at IBM and also leads BPO services for Americas. And then I also have Andy Henrik. Andy is a partner with IBM Consulting with what we call the distribution sector, but for us, it's a combination of travel, transportation, CPG, and retail sectors. So welcome Neeraj and Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
So look, today I want to talk about what I'm starting to see in this economy of what I call the digital dichotomy. And what I mean by that is, on one hand, you see all these macroeconomic factors coming into play, which is resulting in a slowdown, right? You've got inflation, you've got supply chain disruption, you've got fears of recession. Like we look at every month what's coming out in the US, right? Is it a 1% growth or is it gonna get negative? You've got a war going on in the world, right? And all indicators suggest that operational and IT budgets are shrinking. But on the other hand, there is a big hurry to innovate. I've not seen enterprises, you know, trying to innovate and transform faster in my 20 plus years that I've been in this industry, right? How do you balance these two, or this slowdown and the big hurry? And both are true. So how do you balance this? As as Neeraj, you often jokingly say, you guys are the B in IBM, which is the business in IBM. What are you advising clients on how do you balance your investment and priorities in this digital dichotomy where there is a slowdown, but there's a big hurry to innovate?
Yeah, no, thanks, Saurabh, for the question. Right, I think we are seeing a very consistent behaviors in terms of how clients are approaching the slowdown and also the hurry and the need to accelerate transformation. Now, the way I would describe this is there is only one loop or one cycle that I would kind of encourage our clients to consider, and we are seeing it work in many areas or not. But you could either get into the flywheel effect or the doom loop. Okay, and I'll just elaborate on that in a minute here, right? So as clients are driving innovation today, whether it's in their back office, middle office, or front office, and we are partnering with them in all these areas to drive innovation and delivering outcomes to create savings. And then what we are seeing successful clients do is generate these outcomes and savings and kind of cycle these savings back into driving product innovation, the sustainability agenda, or new business models where they need to drive innovation or the next set of growth for the business. Now, organizations that are doing this well achieve the flywheel effect. They get the momentum, and essentially, when done well, could really accelerate their growth. And that is what distinguishes the winners from the losers, right? And so that's kind of where we are right now in terms of the clients that are able to take advantage of this moment in time where the slowdown is creating headwinds and the need to drive savings. And at the same time, the explosion of technologies that are allowing the clients to drive the savings and then the execution of that back into driving the growth as I just talked about. So that's kind of my thought process on where it works well. And then you know equally, right, clients that are not capitalizing on transforming their front office, middle office, and back office are then losing out on the ability to invest in the innovation to drive the next cycle of growth. So it's a virtuous circle, and we help clients become winners in that, right? So that's kind of what our go-to market from a business transformation, and that's where the BE and IBM, to your point, comes alive, right? Is when we look at machines, which is the international business machines or the technology, right? We are saying how do we contextualize it for the business to really make sure that businesses are able to take advantage of this virtuous cycle. Back to you, Saurabh.
No, that's fantastic. I love this flywheel effect. But I wanted to pick on one thing that you mentioned was this explosion of technologies. And, for the last decade or so, we've been talking digital, right? And as in digital is some sci-fi that's going to happen in 3 or 4 years. But I think, tell me one transformation which is not digital, right? So why do we keep using digital as an adjective in front of everything? There is no transformation which is not digital transformation. I feel digital is now
Mhm.
horizon one. It's essential for survival. It's no longer something that's going to happen, right? Where you can kick the can down the road. In fact, one of the one of the things that has happened in this obsession with digital is that, remember when in high school we had this people process technology sort of framework, which was a Venn diagram with those three circles intersecting. What I took away from that was those three circles were same, right? Were equal in size. What has happened with this digital is that the technology circle has become very large, and we've somehow forgotten the people and the process parts of that Venn diagram, and then you add data and culture to it. And that is what we call the one office, right? Where you not only look at technology, it's very important, but look at this holistically. Because to your point, Neeraj, if you have to align this front, middle, back, most often than not, that value is left at the intersections, right? And then even the one office I feel is not sufficient, right? Because one office is looking internally at your organization. Today industry lines are blurring. Andy, you represent the CPG industry. Every CPG industry company that I talk to wants to go direct to consumer. Now, how can you do that, right, without, let's say, cloudifying? So industry lines are blurring. There are more collaborations happening. There's almost like if you have to find new sources of value, you need this ecosystem. So how is IBM helping its client, you know, navigate these three horizons, from digital to this enterprise-wide one office transformation, creating ecosystems? I think one of the advantages that you guys inherently have is the technologies, and then you have the business context. But what do you think is the role of IBM in navigating these three horizons?
Yeah, I I just got off a client conversation earlier today, right? And what we really talked about is the tension that exists naturally business the between the business and the technology in any enterprise. It is it's an important leverage, that tension, because if that tension is healthy, uh, you could use that tension to catapult the business to new heights. Um, and and I think that's the secret sauce, right? I mean, if I were to summarize kind of where the business context in relation with technology is where we see success, is when the tension between the business side and the IT side is used as an accelerator to drive the business forward, right? And I'll just double click on that, right? And how do we do that, right? I'll just spend like two or three key important things on how we really do that and how we bring it to life. Number one, we start with the enterprise strategy, right? The whole business case architecture of whatever transformation, whether it is technology led or business process led. What is the true North Star? What are the outcomes we are working towards, right? Once we have that aligned, then that takes us to the next stage around how we define the transformation solution. And that's important. It's got to be industry specific, it's got to be fit for purpose, it's got to be in line with the technology strategy that the enterprise has in play, and it has to be in line with the business case that we set out in step number one. And if we define that solution in the right manner, using the business case and kind of in line with the true North Star, then it boils down to execution. Now, this is where we in IBM Consulting take a lot of pride in. We obviously are famous for our deep technology, and we also have an exceptionally strong business process expertise. So bringing those together allows us to deliver on these solutions to help clients move and take advantage of bringing out the best in the technology investments and the technology strategy, but leveraging it to move the business forward. So kind of that's our mantra here, right? If I so it's the three things, right? It's about getting the strategy right, building a fit for purpose solution, uh, maximizing both their clients' current interest in technology, bringing in our accelerator and assets, bringing in our golden processes and industry best practices, and then executing that in a manner in which we take the business and technology team along to deliver the outcomes. So that's kind of how I would suggest we approach this, and that's where we have seen it work really well.
So, and that's great, Neeraj. I think I like the fact of the leveraging the IT business tension. But Andy, let me bring you into this conversation. Can you give us? You've been working with a lot of retail, CPG, transportation, right? Give us an example, right? Bring it to life on how a client transformed enterprise-wide transformation, not just functional, siloed. Hey, let me improve my accounts payable and be done with it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Saurabh. So, of course, right? One of the examples that I would like to share is the success story that we created together with a 26 billion global food and beverage company. Is really known by their ketchup, of course, among other great products. And this company committed to Wall Street to deliver $2 billion over 5 years. So, our partnership started at a point where procurement, in this case, was our first starting point. Procurement was, as you can imagine, viewed as an administrative burden, compliance issues, lack of standardization, fragmented process, etc. on the business side. As I mentioned, on the IT side, there was no automation, no analytical tools, and all this composed a perfect storm that created, of course, also a high turnover with limiting talent depth. So, what was our approach and what was our operation, as you all said, from a business and the IT perspective together? From an industry specific point of view, an operational model, we implemented a digital user experience, right, with Ariba guided buying. This was, of course, improving contract compliance, enhance effectiveness on the ongoing procurement operations. Then we implemented AI when we leveraged the digital process twins in alignment with Spend IQ, and we moved forward quickly from manual to automated. Right, this way we brought on-demand market intelligence, analytics, category insights, etc. And on top of that, we created what I call one of the commercial, if you will, innovation or innovative models, where we basically create a self-funded model, designing and executing smart sourcing mechanisms, and then those quick wins actually allow the self-funding. So this creates in this tension that we were mentioning between IT and finance. This is somehow avoided by explicitly saying we're not going to keep funding this IT process, right? We're actually going to bring the process together with the experience in a self-funded mechanism. So that helps us avoid all this conflict between these two areas. And of course, the overall results are redundant into benefits for the company. For example, we committed to reduce their spend in over $300 million over 5 years. We have already achieved so far 75 million. We have already achieved 90% in compliance. We have already achieved 60% touchless processes. And of course, there's more to come, right? We're still doing this engagement and we are sharing these stories together, our client and us.
No, that's really good. And I wanted to double click, if I may, Andy, and push you a little bit on that self-funding commercial model. Because and we all have been in this industry for donkey's years now. And I think ever since we joined, every client says, how do I get my third party service provider to bring in more innovation? Right? How do we make them drive more proactive suggestions, innovation, bring the best of IBM or whoever you are. And we keep talking about gain sharing and performance based pricing and this and that, but at the end of the day, if you look at our industry, 80-90% of our relationships are still effort based, right? They're still FT based pricing. And I think clients like to blame it on service providers like to blame it on clients. uh, but I think this self-funding model is interesting. What are you seeing? How are you seeing, especially with this digital dichotomy and the flywheel effect that Neeraj was saying? How do we structure relationships? Because at the end of the day, we all know, you get what you pay for and how you pay for it. And how are you seeing the evolution of commercial structures in such engagements?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, in the current macroeconomic event, right, what we're the turmoil and the recession, we definitely are forced, if you will, to keep working on increasing and our creativity and flexibility in the commercial models. And as I said, these self-funded transformations is the model that our clients are most interested in, right? What is the minimum investment and the minimum risk in which I can start this journey? So again, in this model, starting with quick wins allows our clients and to face a broader transformation, right? And reinvesting those savings on the upcoming initiatives. This, of course, after a well thought joint design. Other mechanisms that we're using is, as you mentioned, gain sharing. We're moving away from our fixed fees and or FTE based pricing, and our teams work towards the maximum benefit for the client because our fees are tied to those, right? So our fees depend on the effectiveness of our delivery. So clearly, we aim to achieve that effective delivery into both our purposes. So business outcome based models with putting our fees at risk is another example, right? With implementation of a bonus structure, if we exceeded our commitments, this model incentivizes both parties, right? Our clients and us to implement the right policies and execute impeccably. Many times the design is the right one, but the implementation of the policies towards the benefit achievement is the one that does not come along because of change management, cultural impacts, reaction to change, etc., etc. So when we put our fees at risk, having a bonus structure, if we exceed those goals, is something that forces us both, our client and us, in a good way to create that virtuous circle that Neeraj was talking about. There are some examples. I would say DBOT, for example, is something that we're working very strong in these days. When we just to make it clear for everybody, we design, we build, we operate, and then we transfer back to the client. So at this point, the client is going to the experts on the design, to the providers, service providers, and trusted business partners. We design the model, we build it, we do the operation, and then we transfer it back to the clients. At this point, they risk their operation, and that of course comes with a commercial bonus, if you will, for them. So these are some of the models. Transaction fees model is another one. And of course, transaction-based price models are usually depending on, having an accurate measure for this transaction. So as long as we can identify that accurate way to measure each transaction and the success of it, that is a very common model that we are more and more implementing.
I think win-win models are important, but also partnerships need to be fun and exciting, right? And I think that's what these commercial structures also need to do, is to make this exciting. There's something new, there's something fun that's happening, which keeps you both at the edge of your seats. But look, this was a fascinating conversation, from the flywheel effect to the business IT tension to the commercial models. So thank you so much. And I hope people who are listening in enjoyed this conversation. Ping either Neeraj, me, or Andy if you have any further questions, and I'm pretty sure we all will be delighted to answer them. So thank you once again, and wish you all a good rest of your day.